I think we're episode 6 of the Future of PLM Podcast. I am joined by a slightly reduced from last time and yet much bigger than my original panels. And I have with me Rob Ferrone. I've got Oleg Shilovitsky, Brion Carroll's 1 and 2, Martin Eigner, Voskuil, and the wonderful and amazing Juliann Grant of Razorleaf. Hello, everybody. How's everybody doing today?
Doing fine. Going with vote.
Happy Halloween.
Ready for an interesting conversation.
Yeah. So last time we talked about if PLM was dead, and we had quite a lot of debate on the name of PLM and the scope of PLM. In fact, we've even started a subgroup of this conversation to talk about a manifesto about PLM. So, a lot of things about PLM. I wanted to start out the discussion on saying that we found that more than half the manufacturers plan to replace or upgrade their PLM platforms because too many market changes, regulations, technology driving the need to develop distinctive competencies and innovation. So what key drivers are forcing companies to move away from legacy systems, and how urgent is this transformation for survival in smart manufacturing, especially considering all the new stuff and how manufacturers are very anxious that a volatile outlook threatens their ambitions? Who wants to pull on that thread first? Go ahead.
Can I start? I've been saying 20 years already that people need PLM, otherwise they will be out of business. I mean, this is the way we sell PLM. But I don't agree with the fact that it's going to be a replacement. I really see in companies, people are trying to involve new modern tools in their legacy processes. And it's not, I would say, a top-level plan yet to replace. I think that the days of the big booms are over, the big technology shifts. And, so, yeah, there is awareness of new possibilities at some people, but in my environment, it doesn't catch up. People look at it, it's fancy stuff. So, yeah, I don't see them replacing yet.
Anybody else want to chime in on that?
Yeah, so I'd raise my hand. I'm not sure how you're going through this process, but I think that what Jos has talked about really is the technology adoption should take advantage of, or should be taken advantage of by what is considered the profile of PLM, right? In the old days, PLM was a single source system. I remember in the 80s, it was 1 megabyte per minute transfer rates of CAD data. It was, holy crap, I can't believe I'm still here. And it's evolved, right? So now you got agents, you got all these things, you got a whole range of technologies. And I think PLM should grow up with that advanced technology availability, meaning that PLM should no longer be considered a system that is siloed within its own walls. And hopefully people speak to it, and hopefully it does its thing right, and hopefully it talks to ERP, and hopefully. I think what PLM should be is lifted up and broad span across everything from ideation to commercialization and back, meaning I have an idea, I'm going to design it, that's PLM. Well, that's CAD. No, that's PLM. It goes into something to define and expand the as designed and as manufactured as serviced BOM. Well, yeah, that's PLM. It sends that BOM into manufacturing. Well, that's PLM. It finds that BOM in operational use has an issue. It loops it back into engineering. Well, that's PLM. You want to put AI on it to find out how to better enhance the way you flow data and find things that are issues before they become issues in the field. Well, that's PLM. So PLM should be the umbrella. AI should infuse on top of it. It shouldn't be restricted to a system. It should be access of all systems unified. And so that's my pitch.
Yes, but there's a contradictory trend in Germany or in Central Europe. I made questionnaires I had a lot of keynotes the last month, and I asked, what is your PLM and why? What do you try to install? And we have a huge amount of SAP, a very close PLM system, close to SAP. And I asked these guys, why are you going back from the original PLM standalone approach? And they said, we would like to have common, holistic engineering processes. And it's, for me, it's interesting. It's especially the upper medium-sized customer base. And they said, okay, we we forget all the nice functionality of PLM. We get rid of this functionality. We prefer or we value higher the integration to ERP, and that is quite different trend.
Well, with that, so Martin, I don't mean to jump in and have a dialogue between just the two of us, but what you just said is an actual reinforcement that PLM should not be a single system. PLM should be a broader set of tools and technologies that manage the product throughout its life cycle, ERP or SAP being a piece of that, CAD being a piece of that, right?
Yes, I fully agree to you. But I think we have to be pragmatically. In the next years, we will have fragmented, isolated systems, and I see two trends. The one trend is small and medium-sized customer going direct in ERP, and the other trend may be what we call the digital threads, the umbrella on top, however we call it. And I think I see two trends.
I know. What I was saying earlier, and then I'll step back into the balcony, and I apologize, is that we are leaders in the industry, right? That's what we are. Take it or leave it. You know, you took on this role just by doing what you do, right? So we have to guide the industry towards lifting its eyes on what PLM is. We can't wait for it to tell us it needs to do that. We need to help guide it into that arena. Otherwise, it will stay sitting confused in a single system saying, but I want to be more, but I want to be more. And we say, shut up, we ain't talking to you. And it gets confused. We need to lift it up and allow them to feel the freedom of, oh, okay, PLM's bigger than what I remember it to be. We need to help them. That's all I'm saying. Yeah. So I'm in the balcony now.
You have your hand up?
Yes, I have my hand up. So three comments on this. First, I think I want to echo what you said. I'm not sure how companies will be replacing stuff. But the second thing that I think that the companies, like the existing market, already bought at least one or two, or some of them bought 3 PLMs. So there are a lot of systems. So, and that's why the growth will be going based on the market. So we need to figure out what market will be and what the market will be buying. And then once we understand what the market will be buying, then for different markets, we can decide how to call it. Because in general, people don't care if it's called PLM or if it's called by some other 3-letter acronyms. For example, if you come to SolidWorks customers at PLM, they might not like it name. Okay, and you come to some other people with some other specific name, they actually like to call it this way. So, I mean, I'm less concerned about the name, but I'm more concerned about how to position the particular market that has a potential to grow. Because I feel like PLM is like focusing on this particular traditional industries, the particular 2-3 systems that already exist. And like we are selling to the same space, and some other places might bring a potentially huge potential to grow. That's my take.
Brian too was up next, and then Juliann, and then Rob, before I ask another question.
Okay, yeah, and I was trying to get to the question. I was looking at what you actually asked. And so if we look at why companies are evaluating their PLM solution, is because they've been asked to save revenue, right? We got to save $50 million this year. How do you do that? Well, this PLM system and all of its people are costing money. The product, where it lives, is in the PLM system. So how do we save money in our product, and how do we reduce revenue? We have to look at PLM. So I think when it comes to conversations that we have, it's good to talk about, you know, Dad, like you're talking the overarching thing, but the reason why is because they have to save money. People are being put in a position that normally do not look at PLM systems and ask to save money. So we can have good conversations, but people are being tasked with this. And I'm saying in medtech, there are companies that have been loyal to a PLM solution for many years that aren't loyal anymore. And they're getting off it because they're like, hey, we stuck with system whatever because it was a people business in 2000 in the 90s. It's not a people business anymore. So people are like, all right, these are my operating procedures. This is the problem I have to solve. I need to find a new solution. Let's talk, right? So that was the question. I was just getting back, but I think, you know, I'll say this and then I'll stop. This is really funny. I went into my mother-in-law was going to get a loan at a bank, right? And she's like, oh, Brian, we're gonna go get it. And she's like, I've been at this bank for 40 years and whatever. So she's sitting across from this young manager that's there, and she's pleading her case why she needs this money. And she's like, I've been here. That girl over there is the granddaughter of so-and-so. And he just turned to her and said, listen, I don't care how long you've been here. You don't qualify for the loan, and we're not going to give you the loan. It's the same thing with the PLM industry right now. A lot of companies, when they started off, they had people in that organization that were loyal to that brand, and people right now are being challenged with, find me the right solution. It has to be AI, digital twin, model-based systems engineering, cloud-based, right? It has to be able to live in the cloud. These are all the things that people are being tasked with, and they need a solution that meets their requirements for their product, not what they're loyal to or were loyal to at some point. So I don't know if that all made sense, but
I'm sorry. I just jumped out of the balcony just for a second. You know,
It's Juliann after you, okay?
Okay.
You know, I've been doing PLM for a long time, like since the 84, right? So if somebody came up to me and asked, so how long do you think you'll be able to do consulting in the PLM industry? I said, as long as people are going into kindergarten, I'll be able to do consulting in PLM. Why? Because every single 2, 3, 5, 7, 15 years, somebody goes, I don't like that PLM system. Give me a different one. What we're trying to discuss as a team is the evolution of PLM coming in and out of companies something that will is something that's heightened or normal? I say it's normal. Every single PLM transition causes companies to say, I want a different PLM. I don't like that one anymore. But we as a team, we as an industry leader set have to say, what is PLM? Because that's the issue. It's not, will PLM transition in and out of companies? The answer is yes, that'll always happen. But what is PLM as we take on new technologies?
Well, I was going to just comment on the fact that, you know, Michael, you mentioned that half the companies, the stat was half the companies are going to be transitioning. And, you know, of course, digital transformations and driving some of that, you know, with cloud and all that stuff. But you got to wonder, you know, there are a lot of failed PLM implementations in legacy form. And, you know, to what extent are there going to be continued success if the attitude and the approaches stay the same on the new platforms? So you got to wonder if, you know, the thought process needs to really be about, you know, being data centric around products and being able to provide data across the business, you know, not just in engineering, as we talked about, but across the whole digital thread to engineering, to manufacturing, to the supply chain. It just seems that there's a thought process that's missing about how to, you know, originally PLM is really designed to, you know, control engineering data, keep it all in one same place. Well, you know, some of the problems we see at Razorleaf are that when people are trying to make some of these changes, that the data is so dramatically different from one system to another. It's not an easy lift to get something from one system to another, right? So we do a lot of integration. I don't want to make this an integration conversation, but you know, we also look at a lot of PLM systems, and I think it, you know, to Brian's point, you know, you have to really orient your company around what your company is trying to accomplish around the industry. But at the end of the day, sometimes when we're looking, you know, we do a lot of PLM evaluations too, and it's like when you're looking at one company compared to the other, there isn't a whole lot of difference in terms of functionality, except maybe in some industry specific things. You know, if you're trying to, you know, do change management, there's change management in every platform. So, so how do we make change management like more important than, you know, how do we make the outcomes of change management, which are really important, which is all the, you know, the downstream data changes that have to happen, and how do the consumers of the data have to, you know, how do they need to get the information? I just think that there's just a little bit of a, you know, people put PLM in this box. It really needs to be broadened out to, you know, what are they trying to do and how are they going to try to take their product data and make it accessible across the enterprise? I think that's where PLM, you know, needs to go. And it's not quite there yet based on where data is.
I think that.
Rob.
Oh, so the next question
Oleg,
was maybe
Oleg
Rob.
has his hand up, Michael.
All right.
Oleg
Well,
has his
Oleg,
hand up.
we'll go with Oleg and then Rob. Go ahead,
Rob
Oleg.
was still waiting. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, from my perspective, in a nutshell, we just need to go to the next level. Every B2B business, every B2B solution, it's looking to solve three problems: either increase sales, cut costs, and de-risk.
Speed. Speed.
No, it's you either want to sell more, or you save cost, or you reduce risks. Like everything can be classified based on this. So answering Juliann, your question, if you go down to the next level of problems that can be classified as one of those trees, then companies can start buying this. It doesn't matter how we call them, but if it's the problem that's solved, then the companies will be buying it. Coming from what is named PLM or not, I don't know how it will solve the problem.
Go ahead, Rob.
I'm sorry, I jumped back out of the balcony, and it's because you left the rope near me. I could do
My
that.
God, what is this balcony?
What is it with this guy?
Poor Rob. He can't get a word in.
So I think what's going on in my head is that we're jumping between what a vendor can offer as a system and what the industry needs as a solution. And you're not going to find a vendor to provide a like what Juliann said. I want to be able to see change management across a range of manufacturing, service, blah, blah, blah. There is no system that's going to holistically encompass all of that. PLM is not a system that encompasses all of that. And I know, Oleg, you say, well, call it whatever you want, whatever three-letter acronym you want. I'm saying if we keep product lifecycle management as the heralding term and enable it to encompass all the things, not a vendor provides PLM, but PLM is a solution, then we get rid of the contradictions of it can't do it, I don't have a system to do it. All that rifling disappears.
Rob,
So,
go ahead.
I like Juliann's comment. I think she summed it up well. We're 20 minutes in, so let's go to question 2, Michael.
So Rajesh Pragada of AWS actually does a nice job here because he says, well, PLM, I would define it as a practice or a collection of strategic practices. It's enabled by technology implementation partners. And I think we should reframe the question of legacy PLM technologies are dead. Then the dinosaurs needs to die or be shot. He said the implementation partners still live in the old age of methodology and should be asked to retire. Okay. But yeah, maybe I think that Brian, if I reframe what Brian's saying, or what Brian 1 is saying, it's about the practice of PLM and it can go across multiple systems. I would actually jump in and I know Yas's friend, Dr. Hushmani would say that it is a single source of change rather than a single source of truth, right? There's got to be one place where you actually manage the changes. And speaking of changes, one of the discussions we had internally before this call was around OCM, about organizational change management. And I know that's something that's at the forefront of what Yas and Rob have been working on a lot. So would you guys like to talk about how OCM could be an enabler for like doing regression analysis on why certain projects fail, why this legacy is dragging us down, why we can't move forward? Rob, I start with you.
Yeah. Okay.
Go ahead, Rob. You've spoken the least so
I get some airtime. Yeah, I mean, I personally think Juliann said it all in the last statement, where people might switch from one technology to another and they try different experiments, but they have to work on themselves, and that's fundamentally what OCM is all about. Is transformation of the people, transformation of the organization, a change in the way they work, a change in mindset, and ultimately, if you can do that and you can change your company, then I think it doesn't matter what technology you apply. I think you'll get the outcomes that you want.
Okay. Yas, you want to add to that?
Yeah, I think it's the human side is so important because people can make it or break it, and that means you cannot solve it just in your department. It's always an enterprise solution that you have to bring. So organizational change management comes with technology change. You can't treat them separate. unless maybe it's a usability tool for a single user. I think we liked email because it was fast. Now we are suffering from email, but I mean, it's user exception. And maybe a sneaky preview. I will talk about one of the major inhibitors for modern PLM at the PLM roadmap next week. I did a discovery which I can only publish next week, but it's the human that is the problem for
Brion,
management.
No, it's not. It's not only the human. Yeah, I agree. Yes, it's the human. On the other side, I have so many problems to convince the C-level for PLM. Normally, the R&D costs are less than 10% of the company.
Yeah.
We forgot that R&D is responsible for 70 to 80% of the planned cost, and that is missed on the C-level. I have the problem with our employees. They do not accept PLM, and I have problems with the C-level. They do not accept the value of PLM, and that are the two things which hurdles me.
But the C-level are also humans, right?
Oh, yes, you're right.
And so when I
Thank you. Yes.
so the one thing we do when we come in is kind of pump the brakes, right? Because there's a cost line item at a company, but then to Oliver's point, right? If we don't know what process we're trying to fix and what people will be impacted, there's a lot of tribal knowledge. You talk about R&D. A lot of the engineers are being laid off, right? Teams of 100 are now teams to 20. So this change, every time we come in, it's like, hey, pump the brakes. What problem are we trying to solve? What is the impact value hypothesis that we're trying to get back? And then move forward. But if you don't know who you're impacting, it doesn't matter what you do next, right?
So
maybe
so
one
Michael,
point, Brian. I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
I don't think companies are only looking at reducing costs. I mean, many of the discussions I have now is about generating new types of revenue from service. It's one of the most fashionable things. So
there's a massive playbook that comes down to why change needs to occur, and it isn't just cost savings. I agree.
I think you read Oleg's latest post about expanding the reach of PLM.
So I want to bring up one thing that gets into OCM, right? Which is humans get aligned with something they use and they feel comfortable using it, and if they can stay in that place and use whatever tool they're using, and it suffices for what they need to get done, then they will adopt things that need to happen as long as they can stay in their safe space, right? And what I find happens is when PLM comes in, as was previously defined, when I was in the 80s and the 90s and the thousands, PDM and PLM were anchored right into the engineering community. And if somebody was asked to come into the engineering community because their role had to now include activities that pertain in PDM, they became distraught. They became, hey, I want to use my normal system. I don't want to go into that other thing. And so OCM a lot of times has to take into account the fact that people would rather remain in the silo they're in the world they're in, and if you got to bring in change activities that can be handled in that silo system, they're fine. So my statement again, I'm an old chronic little pestering little bitch, right? Is that PLM really is should be a broader solution. So if you go into a PLM initiative, you should look at each silo system and say, if change management has to occur, if the influence of something happening has to ripple back or forward, let people stay where they are and let the PLM magic happen. Let it send things to where it needs to be. Let them stay where they are. So PLM needs to raise above. It cannot demand people come into it. It has to be able to go to them. So I'll do that pitch. I'm back in the balcony. Catch you on the next round.
I mean, but OCM's not going to save you there. If the technology is rubbish and it's painful to use and it annoys the users, it doesn't matter how much change management you do. It's not going to save you from the technology. So it has to be both. It has to be OCM and good solutions that actually maximize the value of the people that you're paying to do the work.
Right.
But we should not. We are not. I think we are not on the level right now in this group to discuss very deep in technology, OCM, MCP, or whatever. I think we should come to a common agreement. And what Brian mentioned, and I think we all of us think the same. PLM system are vendor oriented, they are niche oriented. They are not sufficient to bring end-to-end processes. They are not able to feed artificial intelligence, and they are not able to break silos. So our common understanding is that we use PLM as a niche solution, as a fragmented, but we need something on top of that. I think that is right now, it's my common understanding from this group. And then we should think about how we can proceed in this. My actual feeling, I mentioned it, a special group of customers, they are frustrated. They use SAP as a common tool, and the other group really think about this umbrella. And I just made a survey. We found 10 companies worldwide working on the digital thread concept. So it's not only our group who are discussing digital thread. I found out 10 companies working on an offer for a digital thread concept. There are PLM companies and there are standalone companies. Oleg is one of these companies. Yeah.
Right. Oleg, I think Oleg professes the whole thing of being able to tentacle out as if OpenBOM is a system, but it's not really just a system. It's an enabler of continuity of data, right? So he's taking, and I'm saying this to you, Oleg, you need to tell me I'm full of crap, and that's fine. But OpenBOM.
Thank you for promotion. So that's great.
OpenBOM is the closest I've seen as the duality of a system and a solution approach both at once, right? So he comes in with, I'm here, but I'm going to tentacle out to wherever I need to be. So PLM begins to be raised up as an umbrella where he is an enabler of what I call digital fluidity from mind to market, right? So I think he's the closest I've seen that comes to an offering that doesn't say, these are my boundaries. Instead, he goes, I have no boundaries. I'm just going to sit here and work with everybody. And so that, I think, is a movement, as Martin brings up, of digital thread enabled and still vendor supported. So again, this is the evolution that I think we have to get into. And I could be just some dumb dwit, but I really think PLM needs to come up. We can't throw away the term. People are used to it. We come up with something else, they'll go, what the hell is that? So we have to bring PLM up and enable it to flow regardless of the niche system or silo. Okay, so I'm back in the balcony. But
I just wanted to comment on getting back to the OCM challenge that I think many companies suffer from. It, we see it as well. I feel like it suffers from the same thing PLM suffers from. It. People have an idea of what it is, and it's got a cost to it. And then when it's in the course of looking at a whole project, or and I don't mean to just talk about technology, but it usually comes up in the course of a project, and people go, "Oh, well, we'll do that later." So it's but we all know that adoption is a key factor in success. So I think part of our job as we're consulting with our clients is to really build in the whole change management process right from the beginning and in the way we do it. So it's not something they could just, scratch off on the contract and say, oh, no, I'm taking that out because that's like, so many more dollars over budget. So we're not doing that because it's so essential. I think, when you think about how we all go through a change of changing our mind or adapting to something or to adapting to change, it takes 10, 12 times to hear something over and over again that you want to latch onto. You want to believe in. You first hear it, you're like, well, no. Then you hear it again. So we really need to build in the repetition of making that and driving that level of change in the organization so people can be ready and want that kind of change. But you're right. I mean, engineers typically don't want change. So there has to be a way to bring those two things together.
Engineers want change, but they want the change they like.
There we go. I want the blue car. I don't want the red car.
I mean, it's like. I mean, no, we don't want to do stuff in our lives that makes our lives harder, do we? I mean, no one does. I think we shouldn't, paint a negative picture of engineers and say that they're stubborn not you. No, Juliann. This is, I think, just in general that like the group. I think engineers get a bad rap a lot of the time, and it's like any of us. We want, like you said, if it's better, if it makes our lives easier, if it makes us more effective, if we can add more value more effectively, then it's a no-brainer. No one's going to fight it. Anyway,
Well,
Michael, question 3.
Question 3 was
Rob's keeping us on track.
Yeah.
somebody's got to do it because I'm not herding the cats today. Step 1 involves overhauling practices like needing to decompose engineering artifacts to documents to data to boost concurrent design. What are the most crucial platform capabilities technical leaders must prioritize today, including support for multidisciplinary change management, which we already discussed, open API specs, and support for scalability and enterprise integration. So this is more like what capabilities are the most critical in order to decompose engineering artifacts into data, because of course AI cannot exist without good data. So how do we do that?
Very hard to answer that question without speaking to a technology. If we're speaking the theory, right? What features? Your questions in spirit are very platform and technology focused, but I think the major push for everybody is cloud, right? We don't want major support staff supporting this large, again, tool technology. So how do we do that? We do it with the cloud. But the one thing that the cloud has its challenges. It's not like cloud right now can support a massive R&D team, right? And companies.
We saw one of the challenges last week, and AWS went badly up, right?
Yeah. So I think, but it needs to. And then when it says, when you're in your question, what are the features? It needs to be composable, right? I need to be able. If I can't access the core of this tool, which that what cloud means is I don't need this huge IT organization supporting this tool. How can I build, a composable app? Just like my phone, right? I have a whole bunch of information in here, but I have particular apps that get me to that information and tailor it to my experience. I think that's the big one that people are seeing as far as PLM goes in the cloud, is saying, I want it cloud hosted, but I want it tailored to me, but I don't want to customize my solution so much like our last solution that was completely customized. How can I make it a composable PLM solution tailored to my users in the cloud?
Quite honestly, I think this is a solved problem, because the cloud, like why cloud is a problem? You want to use any cloud you want, including this one that you infrastructure put on your in different data centers. Why it should be a problem? I mean, I'm quite sure I don't understand, because like you can use any clouds today. So what is the real problem in my view is that the fight for application, my application can do everything and log the data. They should stop, because if you stop applications from logging data and allow the people to disconnect data from application and use it, like you said, on your phone, you get data. You want to use this data regardless what happens with this phone tomorrow. So those are things that will turn it in the open state where people will be able to use. So that's the reason. I mean, thank you for previous promotion. That's the reason why it's open as the first name in open. But you need to disconnect data from the applications or unlock data from application. Otherwise, you will say, oh, if this goes to this application, goes to that cloud, it's locked, I will not be able to access this. So
yeah, you're locked in.
Problem. Yeah.
Even though you're in the cloud, you become locked in. Now realize, by the way, a cloud means nothing other than someone else's technology being used to host your application.
That's why I think it
literally means nothing. Exactly. So if someone has
access to the IP, right? So
someone has an on-premise solution. If someone has an on-premise solution, they're using, as Brian, you said, their own IT team to manage that CPUs and GPUs and whatever else, and electricity and connectivity. Yeah. When they go to the cloud, they're just saying, I'm arresting, getting rid of that on-premise system. I'm shutting it down. I'm turning off the electricity, and I'm plugging into this system that's out here that someone else is managing. And to Michael's point, AWS kind of tripped on its own face last week and the week before, causing a whole ton of applications and people to go, whoa, what happened? And what happened was everybody trusted the cloud would support whatever they need. It's big, huge, big. I can connect from anywhere. I feel good about myself. Then all of a sudden, bam, everything went to crap, right? That's because all these companies that had utilized AWS, instead of bringing it on-prem, they put it in the cloud. Instead of managing the IT stuff themselves, they put it in the cloud, and the cloud failed. It'll happen. It's technology. It's never going to be 100%. Suck it up, right?
And it can fail on the prem as well.
I
And
know.
it can fail
That's what
on
I'm
the
saying.
cloud.
It'll fail on-prem. It'll fail in cloud. It's just more impactful if cloud is affecting many, 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 many companies, because now it's not one and done. It's everybody's done.
But
Well, I think
we
just to be
have to.
clear, there's two different types of clouds, right? There's a SaaS cloud, and then there's when I speak to cloud, I'm speaking to a born in the cloud solution, not hosting my applications on AWS.
That's not,
talking about
that's not true.
SaaS.
That's not true.
But we have to be clear at what's going on in the market. The market leaders call their PLM system PLMX. They took a monolith into the cloud, and it's a single tenant solution. And the single tenant solution is not able to be customized because it's based on API. So that is stupid. That is really stupid. So we have to make a clear separation: single tenant, private cloud, multi-tenant, public cloud. I think Oleg, as there are only a few systems, and Oleg has one of the systems, they are able in a public cloud and a multi-tenant system, multi-tenant cloud, to make customization. And I have never seen a PLM customer without customization. I think what the market leader doing right now is lying. It's really lying. They label their product cloud native, but it's not cloud native.
Thank you.
Right. By the way, there is another, to take Oleg's fantastical system, right, which you now, Martin, are selling and pitching. There's another company, VibeIQ, right? They're actually created by Brian Lindauer and the team that built Flex way back in the old days. They are, to your point, Martin, in the cloud, multi-tenant, SaaS, multi-tenant, customizable or configurable, so that each one looks through their view of what this back-end system is, even though the back-end system is uniform for all, how each company gets into it is unique to it, right? So that, to the point, like OpenBOM, these things have to be something that comes in and says, show me, let me manage mine. And the key is to not be harnessed into a wall that's superficially built. Like Oleg says, hey, you're going to get everything out of me, but I'll get anywhere you need to go. So that has to be the platform of PLM. It has to be something that raises above system boundaries or silo environments. It has to be something, whether it's cloud, on-prem, I don't give a crap. It has to be able to access all of these things and enable AI. This is the thing we're forgetting about. AI is the next level. If you don't have uniformity of all these silos for product lifecycle, AI will not work. It will not work.
Yes.
You can do little things, but you can't do business things, right? Yeah.
I don't think we're answering your question, Michael. I don't know where cloud came from, but I think for me, PLM is about communication to enable collaboration. So it's like what information needs to be created by which people and be fed to which people in which format at which time in order to get the right outcomes. And ultimately, if you start there and you figure that out for the whole business, then you can start thinking about how you solve that with technology.
Right.
Agreed.
Right.
Question 5. Or are we on 4?
4. You got to keep track, man. 4, 5, 6. Where are we at?
Well, I felt like, because I think we touched on it once or twice. I think there's also this disconnect with the fact that you've got these people having conflicting mental models. You've got the CFO just pushing efficiency. VP of sales wants revenue growth. We want innovation. How can we, as the thought leaders in this field of PLM, how do we reconcile those conflicting vectors of change, right? How do we do that?
I don't think they are conflicting. I think the challenge is to build a vision that combines them all. And I think that's the part I'm always working on.
One ring to rule them all.
You need to have a story. Make our company big again, you could say.
Oh, yeah.
Wait a
Please don't-
second.
don't-
How it works for
don't-
small companies. Big again?
Yeah.
Contradiction.
Keep our company small again.
Well, they spent a lot of time figuring out to make sure that the ERP systems are in place. They know how to get the money. They know how to capture the money. They know how to take the invoices and bill and order materials. Now we got to focus on the innovation, the product, and making product the center of the company if possible. That's what's going to drive everything else. And if we could shift that mindset, that would be great, because then it wouldn't just be PLM, it would be product.
So Julian,
The product is the heart,
Julian, I
yeah.
want to take what you just said. Nobody invoices for nothing. They invoice for a product that
Exactly.
gets sold, right?
Exactly.
Nobody orders materials for nothing. They order it for the product they're about to build, right? So
Exactly.
if you look at the comment thread, as you just said, it's product. I don't give a crap where the product is being harnessed and managed in, what silo is being used, whether it's SCM, whether it's ERP, whether it's VOC, voice of the customer. I don't give a crap. I'm saying that every place that where you see product has its place, that should be part of product lifecycle management. We have to, as leaders, and Michael, thank you for reinforcing we are the leaders. We have to, as leaders, bring everybody up and say, it used to be technology that harnessed and bordered what we call PLM, because guess what? That's what we were living with. Suck it up. Now, technology has enabled, like Oleg is initiating with OpenBOM, right? Is the windows are open, the doors are open. PLM is now raised above all that. It should be wherever product is referenced, that's product lifecycle management. Back into the balcony.
So you, what emerging market like component economics, procurement, intelligence presents the most significant long-term growth potential? Why is it essential for the next generation of tools to unify engineering, procurement, ERP all into a data-driven loop? Because I think that's what you're talking about, Brian. You're saying all these things should be in one loop, but we're not sure how to get from here to there, right?
Right. Well, that's and I put my hand up, I jumped out of the balcony. Put my hand up. Is that AI is the next technology that will go for the next 10 plus years, period. AI will never stop. People fear it and want it. It's all that weird digestive, will that buddy be my friend or will he kill me in the end? All that stuff is part of that process. But if you say you want to take, and as Brian has brought up, and as Martin has brought up, and Jos has brought up, the fact is make what the companies need. You have to have AI be able to look across all where product is involved and have its insights be inclusive of all of those silos, regardless of what they are. It has to be raised up to the level where it says, I know everything. I homogenize all this data. I don't give a shit. I don't give a crap what each silo is doing. I'm pulling that data in. And at some point, I'm going to say, G company, you should do this with this region for that product because revenue is going to increase by opening that market to that product. And so we have to have AI be the friend and the benefactor is the business in the next 10 years.
I hate to disappoint, but
be
before it was a SQL relational databases, and before it was a cloud, and before it was social, and each time it came as a new technology. The thing that the thesis that I wanted to stress is that without market, any technology will fail. And I think one of the challenges today with PLM is that we continue to sell it to the small group of very large companies, and the rest of the companies or rest of the verticals and markets might not be addressed. And my best example is American Tobacco. They sold cigarettes to men and they said enough, like they will not smoke more. Let's sell it to women, and quadruple their revenues in the next 3 years. So PLM can do something similar. Just focus on the market and the problems.
That's why I say it's the enterprise.
That happens just in Germany because of the critical situation of the economy. It's interesting. The industrial users, the discrete manufacturing stocks, and we get totally new customers. For example, Red Bull, a huge implementation, and they are using a PLM environment. I have requests from food industry, from drug markets. They would like to have a digital twin for the drug market story. So I think we have different markets. I would like to say we sell PLM to the ladies. I think they're just using it. But we have we have different. Right now in Germany, new markets are coming up, and I like it.
Well, anyone that produces a product has digital thread as a benefactor in the use. The thing that most people do is they find that because I'm in a certain industry, let's say at CPG, right? They're doing Lubriderm or they're doing some lotion, and they say, well, I'm not PLM. I don't do that stuff. Well, in reality, yes, you are. You have a bill of material, you have a bill of labor, you have an execution in an MES system that manages how you manufacture it. You loop back when you have issues. You do batch management and testing. You are a PLM enabled company industry. So if we cannot say that PLM is only for manufacturing. Retail, you're all wearing clothes, right? Aren't you wearing clothes? I see clothes. Come on, say it. Yes, I am. That stuff's managed inside of a PLM system in most cases, which is product, colorway, size, right? Whole different than I have a product like the fan above my head. It's a fan of a certain color. So the dimensionality of a product differs based on industry, but the need of managing all of its activities from ideation to commercialization and back is something that PLM should take. The whole thing, not just this little piece, not something that leaks a little bit. It should take over the whole thing. Let engineering do what they do. Let product management and merchandising people do what they do. Let manufacturing do what they do. And all of them will be tagged and talked to what I refer to as the umbrella of PLM. And I think you're all nodding in one form or another. And I think as an industry leaders, we're all agreeing that PLM shouldn't be harnessed and held into a box. It has to come out. It has to lift and become part of the whole. And then you can put AI on it and the story keeps going. Back to the balcony.
But you got to wonder how to actually get that done. And I think that's where the problem happens, right? So, the data that exists to actually make that happen is tremendously different from each other, but they're all trying to do the same thing. So how do we have the vendors do the open APIs and we try to get data into things and out of things, but there's very little standardization in the way products and things are handled, processes are handled.
But you hit it right on the neck. So I always talk about, and I think, Rob, you brought up, they never get to that point. You used to call integrations to be the third phase of PLM, right? They do data modeling, then they do process modeling, then they go to do integrations. They say, oops, we got to upgrade. Then they do something else. They say, oh, we got to expand. They never get to integrations because why? It's fear. They're afraid. I wrote an article, Overcoming Fear, right? People are afraid of integration. So when you talk about how are we going to address PLM as something that it can only exist through integrations. It can only exist through intimation or the intimate, intelligent integration of a back-end PLM and each one of those silos, which has different data for different companies and different tools. Holy crap, we're all going to die. No, we have to look at it as industry leaders, as PLM has to take on the heavy lifting. It has to be brought to where it becomes intimated to all the things that have product participation. All of them, leaving none out. Yeah. And it's not going to be the same for any two companies. It will not. And so if we take on the PLM is now lifted to something that is a solution, not a system, it doesn't have vendor constraints like which vendor is selling it. None of them. Nobody's selling it. It's a solutional approach. We as an industry have to send the herds out to bring PLM to the masses. Has to be solutioning, not system vendor. Now, some like Oleg's company, right, really facilitate that to be a lot easier because there is homogenization to some degree of content, and that makes it easier to put that layer on top. But we cannot walk away from the fact that we as leaders need to say it's time. Technology's here. Systems will always be systems. Product will span multiple systems. We as vendors, intellects in the PLM community need to say, take it on, bro. We got to take it on. Let vendors do what they do. We got to take it on. Back to the balcony.
There's also a bit of a rub because you have the ERP systems are primarily transactional, and our systems are primarily collaborative, but with some transactions too, which is what makes them more complicated to understand to people that aren't in the industry like us, right? I had this discussion with a startup, and he said, well, wait, I don't need a system of record because I've got this collaboration thing. I said, but those aren't the same thing. You can't have a collaborative system that doesn't, you've got to store the BOM somewhere. Someone's got to be able to pick that up and transform it into a manufacturing BOM to build the product. Otherwise, you just got a generative design that doesn't help anybody, right? There's got to be.
Michael, you realize what you just said, though, right? There is a BOM as designed. There's a manufactured BOM, which might have placeholders and factory source crap and everything else. There's a bill of labor on how to operationally set that up, which drives an MES system, right? Or MES, right? And then you've got testing that goes on. And then you've got feedback loops on did it pass, did it fail, did this work cell work? And so there are many BOMs. And then it goes out in the field. Let's say it's a tractor or an airplane. It goes out to the field. Now it's as maintained. So now I got 3 BOMs. And if you look at the third BOM, that's evolution, right? Because as service will change. And it could change because when they do something in manufacturing, they find, oops, that's a bad part. So now they kick that new part out into service. So that BOM is influenced by a new design found in manufacturing, sent out to as service, right? So my point is, there is no single BOM. There is no single version of the truth. There is a set of things that evolutionarily have to say, we own product lifecycle, the full life cycle. We don't shut our doors.
You'll see you in Paris.
Yeah. I'm jumping now from the balcony.
Hi, Martin.
Okay. What are you doing? You freaking out there, bro? What's going on?
No, see you next time.
You agree with what I'm saying? Or you going, oh, bye. Okay, he's leaving.
Yeah, Yas and Martin both had to go early.
No, I did. But my comment is we have from 1990s, where as a market leader coming from, we as a monolithic approach. Then in the 2000s, the web service comes up, and now we have cloud native. And in parallel, we have a transactional behavior, we have a transformational behavior, and I predict for the future, we will substitute transaction and transformation by AI agents. For example, what we are doing right now in a project is a graph with graph oriented. We made an AI agent made a proposal from an EBOM for an MBOM. And so that is what I predict for the future.
Yeah.
That is my intention.
But I agree, AI should be something that is a carrying agent between the different silos, right? So what you just said is what I call ELM, Engineering Lifecycle Management, which is what today, yesterday, and before was called PDM or PLM. That thing has generated, Martin, to your point, an engineering BOM. An AI agent says, hey, you know what I think? I think you should do this for your MBOM. Bam, right? It's facilitating the silo transfer of content or the transformation of data. So why is that not PLM? Product lifecycle management. Why is PLM got to be stuck in the engineering community only? It doesn't need to be. Engineering lifecycle management needs to be stuck in the engineering community, but product lifecycle management needs to be lifted above it. Period. Otherwise, we're all, and I hate to use this term, lying to the market. We're saying product lifecycle management is kind of product, but maybe not. It's not over here, over there. It's only here, but it's product, and that's an improper statement. Can't do it.
Michael, what would you like to happen in the next 3 minutes? Have you got a closing statement, or have you got a question, or a quick round the panel?
Well, there was a last question around what is the fundamental shift from controlling the day-to-day work? Well, I don't like that one either. I think that I'm not sure we had a conclusion today, to be honest.
I want to suggest a conclusion, Rob. Rob, I want to suggest a conclusion.
How long is that going to take, Brian?
About 71 minutes. Trying to set a record. The point is, I think we as industry leaders should suck it up and say, product lifecycle management is not a system. It is not a vendor's offering.
Systems.
Nice, Irene, right? It is something that we have to, as an industry, look at as solution, which means our mind tends to shift. Oleg is already ahead of everybody, right? He's already thinking PLM is just a earth, it's an environment where other things leach into. He's already taken the first step of I'm open, right? That's why it's called OpenBOM. But the fact is, the world needs to look at PLM. This gets into the ERP, the CXO, the CFO's authorization of larger dollar amounts. It has to go beyond, we are engineering, trying to automate our engineering. It has to go to product lifecycle management, the full lifecycle. If we do that, it is unique to each, but people like vendors like Oleg will say, oh, we're living in a new environment where open borders is the key. And I know everybody's into structured borders.
Bombs, not borders. Bombs. Bombs, not borders.
Brian, too, you've been quiet for a while. Do you have a closing statement up there, Brian? Brian, too?
No, I don't have a closing statement. I appreciate the time and always thank you.
Juliann?
This has been a great conversation, so thank you all. I wasn't thinking of a big concluding statement, except that, companies that are looking at trying to, innovate and go to market faster and better really just need to take a step back and not look at technology as a solution, but look at what they're trying to accomplish from a product perspective, from a business perspective, and then, back into understanding where their product data lives and who needs it and who needs to get it to do things faster and better. So that's sort of my thought process there.
Martin, because I think you had to go.
Yes, I think what I mentioned, we all agree that we need something like an umbrella, something on top of all the legacy system along the product lifecycle, which breaks the silos, which helps us to communicate with artificial intelligence, and this gives us end-to-end engineering processes. And I think we all agree. I think that we should not make it too complex. It is much easier.
Right.
Oleg, and then Rob, and then Brian. And
No, I'm done.
My conclusion is that my conclusion is no one is waking up and saying I need this. I need a product. Everyone is waking up and saying I want to solve a problem. So that's why connecting the data, and this is where I agree very much, Martin, what you said, and I think Juliann also mentioned like what the problem that we are solving. That would be the first, and the data would be second, and how to call it will be third, or maybe less relevant.
Rob?
Thank you. Great conversation.
thank you.
I love everything that Juliann's been saying in this meeting, so I default to her conclusion.
Jeez. Thanks, Rob.
Acquiescing. Holy crap.
Yeah.
Good.
No, I mean Juliann, she says a lot of sensible stuff, and it's been a great session with you all, and look forward to the next chat.
We're
Yes.
glad she's here. I think next chat we're gonna start working a bit offline on a manifesto. So we'll probably talk about that. But there's also a couple of topics around master data management, and we haven't really dove very deeply into the real long-term effects that AI is going to have on the definition of PLM. We've talked about what is PLM today, but in 2-3 years, I think it's not going to be the same thing. I mean, fundamentally, as a system, it'll be different, and probably our thinking about it is going to be evolving as well. So with that, I wanted to say thank you very much to the panelists. Thank you to the audience. We had a pretty decent audience today, actually. And we'll organize another one of these in a couple of weeks, like usual.
Great.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mark.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Okay.